Hello, UAE Royal Finances community.
Where we discuss how to make your money work for you as opposed to the other way around and how to best grow your finances within the UAE. Here, we like to flip challenges around and create ideas, opportunities, and possibilities so we can all succeed together because there are enough seats for everyone at this table. How are you today, Ross?
I am fantastic after hearing that intro.
Ah, so you like the intro?
I really, really enjoy it.
Okay, because I've been considering cutting it short, like cutting it shorter, making it a little bit shorter.
No, I think it has everything that it needs.
Okay, fantastic. What do you guys think? Let us know. Should we cut the intro shorter? Yes or no?
Today we have a juicy episode.
It's a long discussion today with our guest. However, it's very, very important. And the reason why we spoke for so long with our guest today is because our missions align. What they are doing is exactly what we aim to do with UAE Grow Your Finances, empowering you to manage your own finances.
I would say what we are doing, not we are wanting to do.
Yes, I mean our aim and our goal is to equip people with the knowledge and tools to empower them to be their own guides when it comes to growing your finances.
Absolutely.
So we're going to keep the discussion short and fun today. Ross, are you ready to make finance fun?
Absolutely.
In 3, 2, 1,
Fun.
So this week I've had some discussion topics running through my head and I felt really inspired. However, I'm going to reserve those for the upcoming episodes because today I want to give a house update.
Let's do it.
As well as I want to let people know an update on the V-Meals situation. And last but not least, we have an announcement to make.
Guys, it's super exciting. A big shout out to FeedSpot. They have found our podcast and we have just made their list for UAE investment podcasts. We've made their top 20 best UAE investment podcasts and we are actually number 6. It's super, super exciting. It's a big, big milestone for us. People are finding us in a big way. And honestly speaking, when we got the email, we actually thought it was a bit of a scam.
Yeah, I thought it was a scam. I was like, there's no way. We've only released 11 episodes.
So what we did, we were clever about it. Instead of clicking the link that was in the email, we went to Google and we searched FeedSpot because we had no clue about FeedSpot yet. We're still young podcasters. We went there, we went to the investment list, and there we are, number 6. So we were super, super excited and really, really thankful to all of you that listen to our podcast week after week. I know some of you listen to it on the way to work. Some of you listen to it when you are doing other things. Please keep on listening, keep on liking, keep on sending us comments. And we love you guys.
Thank you so much for the support so far, guys. It really means a lot to us and we're really happy to be on this journey with you. So let's keep it going. Let's get to some award shows. Let's win some awards. Let's make this thing blow up.
And obviously we'll bring you right along with us.
And the more we benefit, the more everybody else benefits, the more the community benefits, the better the guests get, and the better the benefits all in all get. Speaking of benefits, please go follow us on Instagram, UAE Grow Your Finances. It's as simple as that. At UAE Grow Your Finances, we have an incredible prize to give away when we reach 1,000 followers. And it's taking its sweet time. Our community on Facebook is massive, but our Instagram is really slow. But I think it's actually a really good page. Everything's put together very nicely there. Step-by-step guides that make things very easy to follow. We try to keep it aesthetic. We try to keep it inspiring. And we have some exciting plans for our social media platforms. So go ahead and follow along. And we are itching to give away this prize. You guys are making it a little bit hard for us. So come on, join the Instagram and you can win an amazing prize. It really is incredible. Speaking of slow starts, V Meals accelerated our start to the year with getting us on track with a healthy lifestyle, because that's one of our resolutions for 2024. And we spoke about it on one of our past episodes. I think it was like 2 or 3 episodes ago. And actually, since then, I asked them to alter my meal plan because mine had too few calories, I found, because I'm breastfeeding. And I found myself getting really, really tired. But it was such a simple process. I reached out to their nutritionist and she just calculated meals with more calories and it did the trick, completely fixed it for me. I had more energy straight after that. So now our trial with them is actually over and I'm really sad about it because I was really enjoying having meals delivered to us every single day without having to think about it, without having to prepare it. It made life so easy and it made it so easy to stay on track with healthy eating. So I really, really miss it and I'm considering getting back on board with it. Ross, what do you think?
I thought it was a great thing to have, to be having meals dropped at your door. You don't have to make it. For me, it was a convenience.
Yeah.
For me, it was the saving time. Time is money. Time is so important, especially when you live in Dubai.
Yeah.
And to have these meals dropped off at your door at any time you would like, you choose what meal you'd want. It just had such a good flow. And the meals actually tasted really good. I was surprised. I thought we were going to get some like canteen food, but actually they were spot on.
Do you want to continue with the meal plan? Yes or no, and why?
I would definitely try it out again, but it's not something that I would stay on constant with just because I like to cook. So It takes that whole cooking away from me.
Okay, so you would do it during periods of time, like
Correct.
For a month, 2 weeks or whatever, when you want to get back on track, when you're getting busy.
Correct. This is exactly what I would use it for.
I actually agree with that because you can start and cancel the plan whenever you want. So when you really need it, you can just sign up and go ahead and get them to help you out. If you want to lose some weight, if you have maybe a busy schedule at some point in time, go ahead and try it out, I would say. And there's a lot of benefits. We did discuss it all in the past episode. So we actually have a discount code. Our discount code is GYFVM20. GYFVM20. And that's vmeals.ae. If you go on their site, you can get 20% off right now. I say go ahead and try it because time saved is money saved.
And even without the discount, it's really reasonably priced. So with the discount, it's an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm all about outsourcing these days. I'm all about getting people to do the things that you don't have time to do so that you have the time to do the things that you really need to do and that are going to add value to your life, your business, etc. So, adding value to your life. We have just leveled up and added some value to ours with our house hunt. Do you want to update everyone on how the house hunt is going and how the house purchase is going?
Absolutely. We are finally buying our first townhouse in the UAE with a beautiful garden. It's an absolutely beautiful house in the Mossar community built by Arada, which is basically Sharjah government. Mm-hmm. And it's on the border of Dubai and Sharjah. So it's actually quite close to Dubai whenever we want to drive in or when we need to get to work. So it's a really fantastic community and we got it for a great deal as we love deals and we love investments. And our property is already worth a lot more than what we paid for. So once again, we won.
I feel like this is a fantastic investment. I'm so excited about that aspect of it. I'm actually so excited about so many aspects of this purchase. You might know that we've been looking for a long time for a family home. We looked everywhere in Dubai. We looked at all the popular communities and we just did not feel that we were getting value for money. We felt that the spaces were a bit cramped. We felt that the quality was a bit lacking. We just felt that the price was just too high for what they were offering. We felt that the communities were a little bit like on top of each other. You know, they weren't allowing for privacy and breathing space. This is just the cons. Obviously, there are also pros to a lot of the communities in Dubai, but we just felt like we were not getting value. And when we went to Masar, we had a look at the show villa. The quality was just so impressive and the style was beautiful. And besides that, the community is so unique. It's a forest community and they have over 50,000 trees, more trees than people. And it's just so peaceful. You can hear the birds chirping. There's a cycling track. It's like a wellness community. It's all about like peace and wellness and mental well-being. And we just felt so grounded and at home there. So we bought our home without actually seeing it, but we have seen it now. And I have a massive smile on my face.
It's a lot better than what we thought it was going to be. Definitely.
It's beautiful.
And the whole process was unbelievable as well because we have an amazing agent that's helped us out. Shout out to Mohammed. He's been fantastic. And, you know, there are a lot of delays in buying property in Sharjah because there are still lots of steps involved, not like Dubai. But he's managed to speed them up for us. And we are very close to getting those keys.
When you talk about saving time, and time is money, he ran around and brought documents to our doorstep for us. He was just incredible. He was so helpful and so willing. And he was truly client-oriented in terms of making things easy for us and making life easy for us and pleasing us and going the extra mile. He's been fantastic. However, I'm not actually finished talking about the home. I wanted to mention that there's a massive difference in the quality that we saw with our property when we viewed our property and the properties that we viewed in Dubai. I'm talking about little and big things, such as the internal walls. When you knock on an internal wall in Dubai, it's like a hollow wall a lot of the time. Cardboard walls. What is this, guys? What is this? But in this property, even though it's a townhouse, we have solid walls, alhamdulillah, solid walls, lots of kitchen space. Dubai, some of the villas, you get like a corner kitchen even, or not a lot of kitchen space. This, even though it's a townhouse, it has a nice, big, substantial family kitchen with a huge space for the fridge.
And state-of-the-art appliances came with it.
State-of-the-art, it's a 5-pot, what do you call it?
5-burner.
5-burner gas cooker. Huge. The other thing is that the garden space, you don't have somebody right on top of you. The garden wall you don't share. None of the homes share a garden wall. There's always a pathway or greenery in between the homes, the back of the home, so you have that extra privacy. And I remember the guy that was showing us around at first, when we went to first go look at Masar, he told us that in Sharjah they do value privacy a bit more, so they space the homes out more. Really love that. Besides that, the rooms are spacey. You actually have space, like the bedrooms.
Much bigger than Dubai, definitely.
Much bigger. So we feel like we're getting value for money, not only in that aspect. Also, this is a new area of Sharjah going up. So I don't know if you guys know, the listeners, Tilal City, there's an area, you can maybe Google it. In Sharjah, it's called Tilal City. And it's referred to now as the new Sharjah, where the Sharjah government is putting money into this area. It's on the border of Dubai and Sharjah, and they are building it up. So everything will be going up there. International schools, a huge mall, a medical city. There is everything you can imagine is going up in this area.
Including our investment.
Especially our investment. But they also have villa plots where people can buy freehold property. I think it's all sold out now, though.
I think so.
You could have bought actual land where you own the land and you build your own villa. And there's also commercial property where you can build a villa for commercial use. And so obviously there's going to be a whole lot of different commercial places going up there too. So it's going to be a whole city, as well as they've built like little malls around there for the villas so that you have your convenience malls too. And within Masar, they will be also building a mall, an international school, and everything you need within the community too. So you'll have everything you need there in that area. And at the moment, it's still brand new, so you don't have everything just yet. So that investment is going to boom.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one, 100%. And if anyone is interested in being put in touch with Mohammed, just let us know. We can put you in touch with him. He deserves as many clients as possible. He's actually more based in Dubai, so he specializes more in Dubai. However, he does have a foot into Mossad because it's such a beautiful and in-demand community. Speaking about beautiful and in-demand, today's guests are two of the finest gentlemen I've ever met. Dan and Josh, the founders, I don't know if they call themselves CEOs, but the founders definitely of the company called Saved.
With a beautiful mission. And I'm sure after you listen to this episode, they are going to be very well in demand by our community because they are serving exactly the community's needs and exactly what our community is looking for.
So let's get stuck into this episode.
Are you ready to make finance fun?
Absolutely.
In 3, 2, 1.
Fun. Hello, Dan and Josh. Welcome to the podcast today. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who are you exactly? And how does your company work?
So we'll be known on the group, probably around as the co-founders of Saved, or Saved.ae as we call it. And that was a kind of pet project, and it has now turned into this website and this sort of movement that we'll get into more detail, but it helps people get out of poor investments or investments they may not be happy with. And I'll let Dan speak about how this sort of idea came into fruition, I guess.
First off, thank you both for having us. Nice to meet both in person rather than just seeing your profile pictures. I'm Dan Morris, the other half of Saved, and might recognise me from the group. I occasionally post, very occasionally. Yeah, so Saved really came to us because we were working as financial planners, and a lot of the time clients would come to us and they would have the same issue, the same problem. They'd come to Dubai or UAE in general. They had started saving independently. Then at some point or another, they were either introduced to the idea of saving into a regular savings plan to grow their wealth for retirement or education planning for children. And they weren't aware of the costs or how the plan works or some of the restrictive features of these types of plans. Andrew Hallam, who wrote his book Expat Millionaire, does a bit of work on exposing these types of plans, and groups like this and other groups of the internet have also done a fair bit in exposing these types of plans. But me and Josh took it a step further. We noticed lots of people are still trapped in regular savings plans and they don't know what to do next, do they?
No, I think a lot of it is as well. There's actually some good advice out there, but once you've been burnt once, you had a bad experience, knowing who to trust or if you're just being sold something again is really difficult. So the whole website is designed, it's a calculator and a tool, and it will give us very simple numbers output. But actually, you can go verify that information. You can go fact check it. These are the facts. This is the situation. If you want to go away and do it yourself based on the information we've given you and what you can verify elsewhere, we're happy. We've done our job. But also we are on hand as qualified financial planners. We can also help as well. That's all calculated in the model that we charge an upfront fee just to fix it. Also, look, we'll charge a one-off fee. We don't need to take fees within the plan and these expensive like funds or additional hidden charges. It's rip off the plaster. It's a fixed fee, and the fee's the same for everyone. Where if someone's got 100,000, 50,000, a million, it's the same for everyone to keep it fair. But essentially, it needed to be almost like a one source of truth for people to be like, this is it. This is the truth coming from qualified guys with no agenda who aren't trying to sell us anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably been my proudest moment that we've achieved. Outside of helping the people we have, we've achieved that.
To clarify for the listeners, what the website does, we've got a calculator and the user puts in some basic details of their plan, how much they save, over what period of time. And at the end of it, they can calculate how much they could, in theory, save based on a mathematical model that we've built in the background. So they can see how much they would save if they were to come out of their savings plan and were to invest in a lower cost alternative. Typically, we've used the fees of a normal platform and some ETFs and some other fees we've figured in. So they can see a number there of how much they would save. A lot of the time, people are hesitant to come out of their regular savings plans because they see a surrender penalty or a surrender charge and they think, oh, that's so big, I don't want to do it. I don't feel confident doing that. People in the group, friends, family, people, colleagues at work are saying, you should just come out of this plan, or you've got that. No, that's no good. But they don't know whether or not they'll be better off. What we're doing is giving them an indicative figure of how much better they'll be off.
Yeah.
Right? And
even after like all the fees and all the penalties is all calculated. So it might look like ours a $30,000 penalty fee. So even after that, if you can save, for example, like $5,000 a year on your new setup because it's that much cheaper. Well, if you've got 10 years left, it will then more than up that you're going to save it. Plus the other benefits of having accessibility, never having a surrender penalty or charge again. And as much as we would like people to use us, this model works if they were going to go do it themselves with Interactive Brokers or Saxo or Sawa. It's the same model. You're taking like one thing that's very expensive, taking out the expensive element, and then keeping everything else the same. So that's, I think, another element of financial planning that's the secret sauce, so to speak, that we maybe didn't, not intentionally. Financial planning is very nuanced and people want certainty. How much will I have if I invest this, if I did this for 5 years, did this for 10? And we can't do that, but what we can say is if you have a fixed cost plan of X and it costs this, and you change it to Y, we can know because we've looked at the terms and conditions of both policies, we've looked at both fees, to be able to give people certainty that have been misadvised or missold or just had a poor experience before. That's what probably elevates us to why it probably works so well.
Totally. I can so relate to that. And I feel like that's exactly what people need.
Absolutely. I think it was a few months ago, or maybe even a year ago, that I got in touch with Josh on Facebook. And when he told me about what he's trying to do, first thought that came to my head was this guy is going to be a very hated guy in a few months if this works out, because there are so many of these big dogs running these massive financial firms that are pushing these funds like Panadol. So it's really something that I'm sure took a lot of bravery from you guys, and definitely comes with probably a lot of stories that you have the reason why you are really focusing on trying to help expats get out of these terrible funds. Do you have any stories that you can back up the reason why you've started this whole website and you're trying to save people one by one in the financial planning world?
There's anecdotal stories of where we've helped people. We want to talk about this client we helped called Greg, because he was essentially who we designed the website for before we knew who he was. But I think the origin of actually doing this, going back to what you said about being brave, is that when we perceived this idea, when we actually drilled it down, it was like we kind of felt we'd be the only people that could pull this off for a number of reasons. And then it almost became an obligation to do it, to be like, we're guardians of good financial planning and good investment, and it's all based on evidence and fact, and we can put the information out there. We almost felt like it's our duty to do it. Like we have that knowledge, we have the power, like we should do it. We know we're not going to be popular within our industry. We know we've burnt bridges professionally and with certain companies. But the flip side to that is we've done the right thing and no one can say otherwise, no one can argue with it. Factually or opinion-wise, they can't. But yeah, I'll let Dan speak about Greg is probably the most success story, and also the sort of like the validation for us that this was the right person at the right time.
I think it's very typical. So Greg was an expat that, like the sort of story we were talking about earlier, started saving into a regular savings plan for his retirement. And at some point or another, he wasn't happy with the performance, but really the underlying investments were performing fine. It was the fees which were dragging that performance down, but he'd become aware something wasn't necessarily right. So he stopped saving into his plan and started doing some investments on through his bank. Equally, funnily enough, equally as bad. Then Greg found us through a LinkedIn post mentioning Saved. I think it was one of Josh's posts mentioning Saved. And then that brought him to the website. And for someone who was lacking the confidence of knowing something's wrong, not too sure what it is, but it's kept their money there and it's been eroded by fees. And the website takes him through the journey of, okay, let's learn about the plan. Let's see the figure of how much I could potentially save. He got a saved report, which is a report that we email after someone does the calculation, which gives some more information about the fees that someone might be paying in a regular savings plan. And after that process, he actually said, well, look, I would actually like to go through a full advice process. He had other investments, other plans. He was an incredibly busy guy. and he wanted some help with his retirement plan, and he wasn't just a case of someone doing the switch. But I think that we forget in the group sometimes when we're responding to people or out and about and we say, don't do this instead. That's not enough for someone to make a change.
Yeah.
That alone, you need to go through a process of learning and understanding before you're ready to. It's people's life savings we're talking about.
Yeah.
And talking about people's life savings. That's one of the reasons we started this. Is there's advisors or salespeople out here which are gambling with people's life savings, their hard work for their own financial gain, and it's wrong. And there's so many people still out there that need this extra information to be able to push them back in the right direction, to get back on track.
I think as well, Greg was quite motivated because he was early 50s, and I think for you guys it's a bit different because when you're younger you can make mistakes, you go on that learning journey. For him, it's like no second chances anymore. It had to be right. And the thing that made me most proud is that Greg had commented on our website organically because it fit what his problem was, but he went away and independently verified this information. And he's quite a senior guy in IBM. He's a really switched on guy, and he's come back to us and be like, I verified what you said, everything is correct, it checks out. And in the end, we go through this process, and I think the saving was over $200,000. As great as that is, and okay, to some degree it's relative, that's the difference between Greg paying off his mortgage or not, or retiring 5 years early or not, or sending his kids to the school he wants, or spending more time with his family back in Canada.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. The numbers are great. It's a good metric for us, but actually every person that's come through has that similar journey.
Yeah.
And like what Dan was saying, you've got people who are gambling with people's life savings. It's like 30,000 or 40,000 to most financial advisors. They're like, I don't care. They wouldn't even take a client with like less than that. But for the average person, like, it's a huge amount of money. It takes years to save that. That's what I've always hated with poor advice. It's like you're robbing someone's time. If you rob someone of 10,000, 20,000, it's not the money. It takes another year to save that. It's another year they've worked, another year they haven't seen kids, family, or especially in the expat sort of life.
Yeah.
So it does make me equally angry, but then equally motivated to do stuff like this because we can fix it.
Yeah, and I think that what Dan was saying is so important is that when you give somebody advice online, they're not just going to take it because, for example, the Greg example, he would have spent his whole life learning a certain thing, which is you put your money here, this is what you do. It's conditioning.
Yeah.
It's like any other habit that we've learned in life. We've been conditioned into it. It's automatic. We believe that is what it is. And I saw on some other podcasts I actually was watching, but I heard that when you hear something more than twice, you tend to believe it more. Even if it's something bizarre, if you hear it more than twice, you tend to believe it more.
Yeah.
So I feel that obviously if you say on Facebook or you say to somebody just once off, this is what you should do instead because of this, they might think, okay, that's good advice, but it's not enough to get them to actually break what they are doing within their life.
I think that this journey we've saved was that the website would be like a spark for people to be like, maybe shock them with a number, to be like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was that bad. Right.
Yeah.
And motivate them to go on that journey independently, to go and do their own research, go and look at their policy, go and look at the alternatives, go read, whether it's Andrew Hallam, any other finance book, because at the base of them, they're 80-90% the same. It's the same financial components at play. It's the same evidence-based stuff. We know what works and what doesn't. We didn't want to be too salesy, but we wanted to.
That's super smart because people do need to learn through their own experience.
Exactly.
They do need to.
We could say to convince them.
Yeah.
And that's our first mistake. When we started this before the website, we had a spreadsheet, which is all the numbers of what's now the model and the calculator. And we were like, well, you're going to say 40,000, so you should switch. And we thought it was that simple when we first started doing it like 4 or 5 years ago. We was like, why wouldn't you want to switch? You're going to save.
But we're all stubborn. All people are stubborn.
When actually was saved, it was like, this will be a window into you starting this journey. And some people are ready quicker than others. So we've had people like, they'll go after a week, come back and say, okay, I'm ready to switch. I get it now. Other people, I had a lady email me last week and it's been 11 months. Right? But she started on that journey and now she's ready. And I'm like,
fantastic.
We knew that would be the case when we started it. We can't direct people down a funnel or a click here. This is the hub. This is what you need to know. When you're ready to reach out, here's our details. You can book a call with us. It's free. Have that 30-minute hour chat at the end of it. But from that, I think the other thing that's not mentioned is I was surprised that we've had people reach out to us and say, look, I don't have a regular savings plan, but I do need help with X, Y, Z, and you're the only guys I can trust. Because we've done something like this that is so open and transparent. On the flip side, the accessibility here for like trusted advice, because it's so transient that people are moving, And regulation wise, probably not what we're used to maybe in the US and the UK.
Yeah.
That's been an extra thing for us. It's made us more busy than we anticipated, I think.
When it comes to getting ethical financial advice, for the people who want it, you don't always need a financial advisor. We'll agree with that statement as well. You don't always need it. Some people do want one and some people do need one. Not always, it's very specific. But getting access to ethical financial advice here in the UAE is very difficult. And there are some firms that are starting to do that now. There has been a shift.
Yeah.
But I would say it's mainly reserved for people with $500,000 or more. And even still, there's very limited choice for someone to go and find a financial advisor at that level.
But I think as well, it's this split, and it's probably what annoys me on the group, not on specifically. It's very product driven. All the financial planning or advice here is very product driven, and it's like, oh, I'm looking at investing for 5 years. What should I do? Someone will say national bonds. The other say someone structured notes. The other says gold. The other says ETFs. And I'm like, you wouldn't accept that in any other industry. If I said to you, oh, I'm looking at getting a car, what should I get? You wouldn't just say, I'll get a Ford. Or you would go into detail of like, how many kilometers are you looking at driving? Do you need it for a school run? Do you have a dog? Do you enjoy driving? Is this important to you? Is fuel? You would go through a process. And through that process, you might find that, okay, a motorcycle's not suitable for you, but it is in these circumstances. A pickup truck's not suitable for you, but it is in this. But in this financial thing, it's not just a group, it's all like groups internet. It's very product driven.
Yeah.
But that's also made worse by there's so many product salespeople out here working for financial companies that say they're financial advisors, and they're not. They're product salespeople, and they don't exist holistically. And that even if the product is good, which it rarely is, it doesn't solve the problem. Because if you then ask them like, well, how does this affect my insurance? How does this affect my property investment plans? What am I going to do if I want to move this money back to South Africa or Pakistan or UK? You can't get that.
It's not just coming from advisors though. You see on the group, this group or any other group, you'll see someone raise the question and everyone knows the exact right answer. Whether or not someone should remortgage their house or sell it. How do you know? You know nothing about that person's life. You know nothing about the conversations between them and their partner, their children,
their upbringing, like all that sorts of
whether or not if they did sell and they got rent, if that's journey to work is going to be more stressful. And then you'll see a handful of comments which are questions, 3-4 questions. That is what financial planning is. Either you asking yourself those questions or having someone to ask you those questions.
Yeah.
That's the way advice works. And you'll see you guys do it on the group. Well, have you got this sorted yet? Have you got this sorted? That's all good planning is either asking yourself or having someone to ask those questions. And the more difficult your scenario, the more difficult the questions.
Yeah.
That's so important for people to know. I just want to like hang there for a second, because you said that good financial planning is asking yourself questions. And as you said, you don't need a financial advisor. Some people like it. You don't always need a financial, sometimes, not always.
Especially to get started, you don't.
But a lot of it is doing that yourself, asking yourself the important questions.
Yeah.
And what I also was getting from what you just told us now is that people are looking for simplicity, and really this is just a very nuanced topic. Like you said, finance, the topic of finance and saving, investing is very nuanced, and people are putting a question out there looking for a simple answer. And I feel that a lot of advisors out there are preying on that. They're like, here's a simple answer. Do this, this, and this, and this.
To solve all of your problems.
And they know that they're overlooking the nuances because they have the knowledge about the nuances. But somebody like me, like I always say, I'm not financially savvy. I would be like, oh, thank you. I'm going to take this advice and I'm going to do it because it saves me so much time.
Because you think they're trusted from a point of authority. They have good intentions. You have, but my tip to anyone, and actually works on the advisor side and on the client side, is probably most important question you can ask yourself is, and then. So it's like, right, I've got a couple $1,000 I'm going to invest in gold. Okay. And then I'm going to invest in more. Like once you've gone through that journey question 5 or 6 times, it doesn't mean, and then is saying, what's the next product? It means, okay, and then what am I going to do? Well, then I'm going to have enough money to maybe work part-time instead of full-time. I'm going to spend more time with the kids. If you probably go through a process of asking yourself, and then probably 5 or 6 times, I'm looking at starting investing with Sawa. Okay. Let's say you do that and it all goes well. And then what? Oh, well, actually, then I'll put some more money. Okay. And then once you've gone through that process 6, 7 times of the and then on the client side or the advisor side, you'll get to what you actually want. Which
Yeah,
for a
no
lot
one
of people
wants-
is freedom and time.
Yeah, no one wants more money. What is the point of more money? It's the things that money buys us.
Yeah.
And for everyone, that's completely different. You know, I think one of the easiest ways is just to close your eyes and think of the happiest memories that you have in your life. And what do they revolve around? It might be family and friends. For someone else, it might be status. And you, if yours is about family or friends or freedom, you might look at that and think, oh, that's ridiculous. But everyone is different. And what's driving everyone is different as well. So you need to be able to be honest with yourself, realize what's driving you, what you want, and then work backwards to make a plan to achieve that. And you can have lots of different things that you want. Before we started the podcast, we were briefly talking about if you want to start speculating, what you should do first is think, right, okay, what do I want for my retirement? What do I need? And take care of that goal first through evidence-based investing. And then if there's something left, and you're more motivated, more ambitious, maybe you've got these wild plans, maybe then you can speculate with the rest. But take care of the basics first, separate your investments based on the specific goals and know what it is that you're going after and why.
Especially if you're single, because if you're married or in like a serious relationship, you naturally do that with each other. You plan together. You're like,
Yeah.
what is it that we want? Where do we want to be?
Yeah.
What is our plan? And
I also think when it comes to that, we need to also not generalize, because a lot of people especially in the UAE, they do not discuss this financial stuff with husband and wife. It's actually, there's a boundary when it comes to financial advising and speaking about, in a lot of the cultures in the UAE.
Yeah, I think a lot of our job sometimes advisors, almost like counsellors, we are facilitating that conversation,
Correct.
making it less awkward between you two, for example, or between any couple. Is
Yeah.
that we're the sort of filter or go-between that it makes it easier to have these formal/informal conversations.
Yeah.
I might ask a client in initial meeting, like, what was money like for you growing up? And it sounds like an odd question. But it's a question that most married people should either ask or already have the answer to. But the number is probably shockingly low. But actually, I don't know what it was. So, like, me and my wife, financially, our upbringings were very different. Now, we're very money aligned. But that's not because we had the same upbringing. It's because our end goal is the same. So then the logical conclusion to follow all that process has to be on board, because we're so aligned on the end goal, we're then motivated to achieve it.
Yeah.
You're right. A lot of the job is more counselling than it is number crunching.
It's so true, because a lot of husband and wives, they say opposites attract, right? In our case, opposites attract in many ways, especially finance related. So a lot of the time you have different goals, you have different things that you would like to achieve. Some want more family life, some want more money. So like you said, it's counseling a lot of the time. But it's very important for you to get on an end goal, because if you don't have an end goal in your relationship, in terms of financially, you're going to have a lot of fights.
just as an individual too. That's
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it actually doesn't matter what the goal is. I think everyone tries to I don't really have this big overarching goal or ambition to be a CEO or to do X, Y, Z, particularly with investing. And it's probably what me and Dan did wrong 5-6 years ago when we first started the financial planning stuff out here, was that we sort of agree now that getting started is a be all and end all, because nothing else happens in between it. Even if you're starting and it's inefficient, or you're starting and it's not perfect, it's a little bit messy, it trumps everything else, rather than waiting for this perfect thing to happen for 2-3 years.
Yeah,
And
the habit is more important.
yeah,
It's the same for everything, isn't
forming
it?
a habit of whether it's paying off debt or putting into a regular amount away for investing or long term. But that was a mistake me and you were making when we'd first have a client through. We were trying to do everything at once all the time in the most efficient manner. And on a spreadsheet, it looks very beautiful. And logically, it's also like the correct, in quotes,
Yes.
way to do it.
overwhelming.
But for a new person, it's like time to do. And then we were like, well, we've got all this plan out for you. Why don't you want to do it? And I think in the last probably 3-4 years, especially with Saved, we've gone on this, bringing it back to the human element of that's all fine and we can do that. We don't need to prove anyone we can make someone a really good financial plan that is proven to work, because it's been like 50 years. We know that. It's more, how does it work for this person in this specific context with this specific objective in mind, or this person brings to the table, not trauma, but all their experiences. You're dealing with that.
Yeah, it's really an incredible concept, because it's really hard to navigate through these funds. I myself have struggled with this before. I've entered into a fund in South Africa where I was born and raised. Did that for about 2 years. I ended up getting charged crazy penalties to exit it. And it ended up, I was probably up 4% after 2 years, and took the money out and I went down. I went into a negative. Imagine leaving your money in a fund for 2 years thinking that you're going to be better off afterwards, and you're worse off. So this was the first terrible experience from a fund. It gave me a bit of trauma as a youngster. I didn't have a lot of money at that time. So
you've done well to turn it around. And this is the thing we worried about with Saved, to be very honest, is that could have put you off investing forever.
Yeah.
And you said, I'm never going to do it again. And then you're capped at what fixed deposits can give you. Let's say it's 2, 3, 4%. Yeah. And that's just your life then. It's like, I did it once. And that would be a very normal journey for most people.
It takes a lot of courage
to
get back out there. And
there is a flaw with Saved, is that if we scare people too much, like, this product you had isn't so great, it's going to cost all these fees. And then they get so scared that they cancel the plan, but then they don't have a plan B.
Yeah, it's actually worse.
That's actually worse.
Yeah, there's a big problem. It's probably the main negative, isn't it? That if we scare that person away from investing and that money sits in cash and in 0%.
Yeah.
Because we're saying that they could do better for their money by stripping out the fees, but that money is still invested in its comparison. If you strip that money out and it's sat in a bank not earning anything or just earning a couple of percent, that's fundamentally worse. So that's a...
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, hearing you guys speak is giving me so much anxiety in terms of trust issues,
Yeah.
Trust trauma, like bubbling up. I know that I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
I know that this is a very common scenario.
Yeah, it's a very much catch-22, because even when I was younger, it was like investing is risky in general, right? And that was like the theme. It didn't say investing in XYZ, it was just investing inherently is just risky. And then you convince someone to invest, let's say in XYZ, they do, and it's a terrible experience. So you got them to overcome their first barrier, they then do it and it's terrible. The journey to get that person to go back again is like, it's not insurmountable, but it's one person can't do it. It takes that person to go on a journey from friends, family, looking at different evidence or information, and Saved will play a part in that. But I think we recognise early on that we're not in control of it. We're playing our part in facilitating it.
Yeah, it's like building up a relationship after trust has been broken.
Yeah.
It's like that, you have to just have the time and the personal experience and be proven wrong again.
Yeah, but I think similar with relationships, it's the risk of doing nothing. So it's like, okay, fine, I've been hurt in this relationship, or the trust has been broken, it's happened twice. Well, your choices are to stay single forever, okay? Or work on yourself, or work with therapists or counsel, work on what you need to get to the point where you can have a good relationship with someone. And it's similar, like the alternative of not investing is what? Like, I know it's different now because you can get in 4 or 5% on like cash deposits now, and people are thinking that's amazing. And in our lifetime, as our age, because we're young, I've never seen that before. It's been the highest it's been. And people think it's exciting. I'm getting 5% a year. Why would I invest in ETFs or anything else at 7%? The answer is, well, you're only getting 5% because inflation has to be above 5. The bank's not going to lose money. Yeah. So you're only getting 5% because inflation must be 6. Okay? So it's almost like a mathematical trick of thinking you're getting more.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the index fund thing, is that evidence-wise, that's the only thing that's been proven mathematically, and the people that have researched it have won a Nobel Prize on how the economy of the money coming in works. But to beat inflation, that's a proven method. This works. And we might only think it's an extra 2-3% a year, but equally we know that over 25, 30-year period, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars difference. So that's why it makes that difference.
Correct. At the end of the day, you're in it for the long term. If you are passively investing, I would say no one wants to sit in front of their screen all day trying to beat the market, as we were speaking about before. Because actually, I went on to getting into another fund when I moved on to the UAE, started earning a bit more money, decided to try again, and I got in touch with another financial advisor. I hate the term after this. Was
he a product salesman?
He was basically a product salesman. He was a great guy.
Was he a great guy?
He was a great guy.
Most of these people, it's bizarre. Although they're
personable,
they're personable. You go and have a beer with them.
Correct.
Their kids might go to the same school as your kids. They're best mates. They're golfing with them. These guys are great, but they laugh about the fact that they've just
screwed you over.
Yeah. These people what's like the advisors? He's got a nickname of the judge.
Yeah.
Because he dishes out life sentences. In these offices, I've been in them. They are laughing at you.
Yeah. Because it's a 25, we signed you up to a 25-year policy, life sentence. They know.
But anyway, sorry, I interrupted. Carry on with your story.
And basically,
Great
he was a great guy. I put more money in, and I was planning to put a lot more money in over time, but the investment was not going anywhere. I wasn't beating inflation. I wasn't even on par with inflation. I ended up taking my money out again. Exit fees were involved. From that day on, I said, "Listen, I will do it myself. I'll do it myself to a point.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out and play the stock market and stuff like that until COVID hit." And when COVID hit, we were actually stuck out of the UAE for 4 years. 4 months, sorry. We were stuck out of the UAE
months, it felt like 4 years.
It's felt like 4 years, correct. And that's when I started my financial learning and teaching of myself and stuff like that, because there was nothing else to do. I was stuck in an apartment. And based on that, the group was started. Based on that, the community was started. So I would have to actually thank these financial advisors because
they've done you a favor almost.
they've started something great.
It's a great mindset to have as well, to see the silver lining and to turn it into something positive. You didn't have to do what you did, but you turned it into something really positive, not just for you, but for other people as well. So
yeah, I think
100%.
we've always reiterated as well that sort of against our self-interest, but sort of not, in that we acknowledge that everyone needs a financial advisor. And from a fund picking perspective, if it's just funds, right? Let's say we made a portfolio for you, or you just did an S&P 500 by yourself. The results would be broadly similar, in that ours would probably be slightly better, but it would be marginal from a fund perspective. So at 60 years old, you might have 1 million in one, or 1,050,000 in another. And that 50,000 is nice, but at that stage, it's not the difference between doing anything. The other bit of the behavioral coaching, right? Of, let's say, going for a life event or stressful time at work, or you've lost your job, having a financial advisor there to be like, this is how this is going to work. This is the plan B we've got for this.
Yeah.
This is how this is going to operate. That's where the value is driven from it. And in your case,
It's the support, I think. The support is a big part of it.
and education. We're really big on like empowerment. We share everything we know. And at any point, if someone says like, all right, I'm confident enough to do this on my own now, we'll let them leave. There's never any exit penalties. There never ever should be. We're happy to facilitate that. We might be with someone for 5 years. It might be 25, but we're just with them on that journey whilst they go through it. And it's rare. I think a lot of financial advisors or product salespeople, they sell you a product and then tell you it's advice. And then you feel like you're stuck with them, and they gatekeep and they don't actually give you the information you need to make informed choices. It's very rare that people go on this journey you have where, okay, albeit COVID, it's like, but it's forced you to look inwards and like, is this the right thing? What else is the alternatives? What else can I do here?
Correct.
But that's not a typical journey for most people.
And we've had the group going on for like 3 years now. And during this time, the amount of financial learning that I've been able to take in has been incredible. Having that financial support. We have a lot of financial advisors on the group, 100%. You can see them,
We're ready to call them out. We're ready.
Moving around the group.
We're the police on your group. We will.
Very good. Yeah.
Bullshit police.
We need that, and the greatest thing about the group is we are getting so many posts of people asking, this person has told me I'll give you 20% a year, I'll give you 30% a year. What do you guys think about it? And everyone is just like run for the hills.
Yeah.
Every time this happens, we are saving another person.
100%.
yeah,
So I think we're on the exact same mission.
But you're probably saving more people than you think, because there's people that see that lurkers.
Correct.
That might be 80-90% of the audience. They're lurking and they're just there. So like, even when someone uses Saved, unless they use a calculator, we won't know that they've gone on, but they could have gone on, seen the information, seen the links to the other resources there and gone on. And we've still played a part in doing that. That's like Dan said, doing your bit on the group is a big part of that. And it's hard to build that community. It's really difficult.
100%. The more we talk about these funds, the more I'm thinking that it's almost like putting on weight and losing weight. It's so easy to put on weight, sit in front of the TV and just eat,
This is perfect.
and to lose that weight, it's going to take months, sometimes years, almost like I'm sure what you guys have to suffer with every single day. When you're trying to get someone out of a fund, they don't want to because of the fees, or they're not allowed to because of the way the fund is built. But to get into the funds, it's one signature.
Yeah.
Don't read the terms and conditions. Just sign. Finished.
I love your example of losing weight, because to lose weight, there's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. So you need to be in a calorie deficit of 500 calories a day to lose a pound of fat in a week. That's it.
My God, makes me want to cry.
That is exactly it. There you go. So you need to burn more than you eat by 500 calories a day for a pound a week. That's it. But no one sells any courses on that. They sell the fat loss pill. They sell the Stepper 3000, the Ad Blast or whatever. The answer is simple. Doesn't make it easy. And it's the same with finance and investing.
Yeah, simple but not
It's
easy.
simple but not easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these pills are almost like one of these financial advisors promising 30% return.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's another thing to be like, okay, your other fund is crap, but I've got you this one, it'll get you 20%.
The truth isn't sexy.
Yeah. That's the thing with like, you've got to look at these things like guaranteed returns, right? Let's say 20%. So there's two issues with it. The first is logically to be like, let's say the banks give you a loan or a mortgage, okay? The banks can't make 20%. Like, mortgage now 4-5%, or a loan might be in like 12%, right?
Crazy.
So if the banks, with all their power, resource, and knowledge, are like, that's the way they can do it on a risk-adjusted level, what makes you think 20? Like, oh, someone else is just dishing out 20%. But the second bit would be guaranteed, and we put, as consumers, we put a lot of weight on that word, but actually in the financial world, it means essentially nothing. Nearly always, what happens in these cases is there's a shell company set up in the Cayman Islands or Bermuda or wherever else, separate from the investment company, and it holds the guarantees. It has no other assets. It has no other duties. It doesn't have any activity.
Yes.
And when that fund crashes or when the money runs out, that limited company will just go bankrupt. No one will be on the hook. It's not underwritten by anyone. There's no insurance with it. It's just guaranteed by a random company that's set up in relation. That's how nearly all guaranteed returns work.
These are these products that you'll see. You get given a very official looking investment letter or something similar,
Stamped at least
and
twice.
you're getting 12% or 15 or 16% fixed returns in a company that's usually it's clean energy or UK property or so on
Commercial
and so forth.
land.
And if you actually dig into it, like Josh said, these companies are shell companies. They often use names very similar to the actual company they're replicating, and they set up accountants which have very similar names to an actual accountant you're replicating. So as a layman looking in, you will not know that this is a scam. And they can go on 7-8 years and then they pull the plug.
And the funny thing is, as much as you say it's a scam, all of that is perfectly legal, by the way.
Look, it's being sold out here. I've seen...
Yeah.
Well, it's not...
You know, like the structure of it is legal.
The structure
in terms of that thing of like, we had a fund, it didn't perform well, COVID happened, whatever else. No one will be on the hook. Now, there's a conflation point where if you're sort of dodgy enough to set up in that way and promise people the stuff, there's probably some illegality happening.
I would argue it's illegal, but
the structure itself is not illegal. You can set up.
Yeah.
The structure itself is legal. There's no issues with doing it. There's no.
So the ones I investigated were listed on a financial advisor's website under fixed returns, and you can download these brochures. You can look at the company names, you can investigate, look into the finances of these companies. These are being sold. They're that unaware of what it is they're even selling. I'm pretty sure they don't even know it's a scam.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is so scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the documentary last night on Madoff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, after watching that, it's scary.
Yeah.
This guy went on for tens of years.
Yeah,
You know?
if you ask me now to do a deal where he said, right, everyone's just going to invest in S&P 500. There's no other financial products for investment. That's just it. And me and Dan would be out of a job. Fine. I would shake your hand and take the deal because 90% of people would be better off.
I wouldn't minimise our job to just investing, though.
No, that's what I'm saying. From like without that sort of thing, our job would be more so coaching and counselling it would that bit, because without a vehicle to invest in or anything else, what we do doesn't have a point, but it's like it's nothing to be built around.
Yeah.
The other stuff has to be built that this vehicle is going to get you to a point when you're 50, 60, you can have in pots and retire when you not even retire, whatever the end goal is.
Yeah.
There needs to be something.
I just wanted to bring us back to a point that was made earlier about whether or not people need financial advice. And there's a lot of the time we say no, but it just makes me think just before Christmas, maybe in the same week, I had 2 meetings. One was with a very wealthy English man, needed to do some inheritance tax planning. He needed a financial advisor. Fundamentally, can't do what I did for him without one. So we do the work, that's done. The same week, I meet a lady who's been referred to us through one of the groups. She's saving maybe a few $100s a month, completely opposite end of the spectrum, a few $100s a month. She's in all of the Facebook groups learning about investing. She's a single mum. She's got 2 kids. She's got the spaghetti bolognese on in the background while we're having a meeting.
Bless her.
Who needs advice more? The person who actually couldn't do it without me, or the woman who's got no time? She's in all these groups. She's learned everything. Who needs it more? I would argue that they need it just as much as each other.
True.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, tell us why.
When we're saying the word need, usually what we're saying is you fundamentally need someone to do something, which in the case of someone who needs inheritance tax planning, let's say for a UK person, a UK domiciled person, you need an advisor to do certain things. Same with certain aspects of pension planning or retirement. You actually need one.
Someone
You can't
regulated advice to do
do it yourself. So that's a type of need.
Okay.
Now, you could say that this lady who's a single mother, you could say, well, she doesn't actually need, in terms of, she doesn't need me to do anything for her. She can learn it all herself. She can do it all herself. But she needs an advisor in the sense that she has no time. She's tried to work it out herself.
Who would benefit the most might be
Yeah, I would have said that she would need it more because she's in the more desperate situation, you know, and she doesn't have the time.
I would say that she is probably the most vulnerable
Absolutely.
to the scams. You know, she's got 2 kids. She's a single mom. Her funds mean everything to her and those kids. And so I think that is probably the most important side of the need. Yeah. She needs someone so that she does not get screwed over.
Yes, my broad point is when we all say you don't need advice, sometimes it does irk me a bit because there's this woman who, even though she got referred to us, there's still a part of her that's like, I don't need it. I don't need it. I can figure it out. I don't want to pay anything. Yeah. But
you could post all the factual information on all those groups, you absorb it.
She's never going to do anything.
She's never going to do anything.
Yeah.
She needs that facilitator to push.
And maybe that'll make her feel like really bad about herself. That she's like, why can't I do this for myself? Everybody's saying that I don't need an advisor, but why can't I do this for myself? Is there something wrong with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We could reframe that as like, everyone would benefit from financial advice. If it's proper actual advice, it's not just a product sales, it's not some angle from actual general planning.
Well, let's just say financial knowledge.
Yeah, everyone would benefit from that. And
Information.
Spoiler alert, worked with the wealthy guy and she never worked with me.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Because
that's so sad.
This is the problem. The people who are struggling and they're being told that they don't need advice, like we said, they're the most vulnerable. The wealthy guy has become a client and the person who probably needed me more has not.
Because she had the most fear.
Fear.
Yeah. So if she's listening, if you know who you are and you're listening, please,
Emily, if you're out there,
take the leap.
Yeah. But yeah,
pro bono.
It's similar to what we designed with Saved. Is we recognise that people are on different timelines. Like less than 10% of people that visit Saved are ready to transact or switch.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
At the stage that they're ready. Most people are in the sort of middle stage of like, I've been looking for a solution to get out of this plan for a while. This is the thing for me. I'm just going to double check it. Usually within a week or two, it's fine. And there's other people where it's very early on. And like I said before, as one I'm dealing with at the moment, it's been 11 months. And that's the timeline she's taken. And she's actually similar to Emily. She was in UAE, moved back to UK, has moved back to UAE. She's got 2 kids.
We see a lot of those cases on Facebook especially.
Yeah, I get a lot of messages as well from single mothers or...
Yeah, it's just people that are time poor. They can't put 10 hours a week into really learning or...
Absolutely.
Yeah. But also I think a lot of it's upbringing of, like I said before, investing is risky. Maybe they've been burnt once. We recognise that barrier is actually massive to overcome.
Yeah.
We're someone on the wealthier side, don't know the background of your guy, but if he's been brought up wealthy, he's never had these barriers. It's like, you must invest because it's the only way to grow money. You must have a good planner. You must have a tax advisor. You must have a good lawyer. He's been conditioned differently. So for him to different, okay, the products are available the same, the financial planning process is the same, but their journeys are very different.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Psychology there is so between how you're upbringing.
Yeah.
Money and psychology go hand in hand massively.
Yeah, this is what we firmly believe. We had a guest on here that was all about mindset and how do we change
and breaking belief systems from childhood and things like that.
Which is quite amazing.
Yeah.
But let's get on to some positive things.
There you go.
Okay. So let's talk about your guys' biggest wins when it comes to dealing with expats. Maybe have 1 or 2 stories just to basically the listeners so they can understand what you guys do best and how you've helped someone overcome.
Yeah, I will kind of bring it back to Save and just give some very face value sort of metrics of, has it been 18 months? So it's October 2020.
Yeah,
18 months. So the switches we've done, 46 people have switched. And obviously it's different levels of how much people have saved. And that's known switches. There's other people that would have switched that we didn't switch ourselves. So that's 46 people that we have switched.
Yeah.
And the fees saved, if you add them all up, is just under $2 million.
Wow, that is incredible.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify. So when you say you switched them yourselves, you don't mean just through the website. You mean that they've actually come to you
for financial
Yes.
We do it for them.
Yes. So actually, it's a lot more.
The number, if someone's come on the website and maybe they've done a report or not, and they've not followed up with us or not booked a meeting, and let's say they've gone away and done SAWA or gone away and just done in-house brokers. That's a sort of win we can't quantify that win. It's not in our numbers, but it's still a win. And then probably the third thing is the integrity of the calculator. So it does make some assumptions on the fundamental level of someone's plan, but we back tested it. Like, how accurate is it? And the accuracy is 99.2% of, like, it's not like per sort of cent and dollar, but that's how accurate it is. So the numbers, although they're indicative, if it says you're going to save 40,000, it might be like 39,900 in reality, or 40, but it's going to be there. And then the second bit to that is I think we've had around 2,000 users to the site. Of the people that would have saved money, so like, how useful is this? It's 96% of people would save money from switching their plan from a regular savings plan to something index fund based or platform based.
Obviously, that takes into account like how long the plan is.
Yeah, so the average point usually is about 7 years is when people switch, because the first 2 years they know is gone. From probably year 2 to year 7 is like, maybe the advisor is convincing them you've got to give it a bit more time and the market's going to go up and all this sort of stuff. And I think plus 5 years is where the advisor's moved on or they've lost trust because there's no relationship there, because it was just a product sale in the first place. And around year 5 to year, say 7, is when that client would go on a sort of journey of what's actually going on here. I know S&P 500's up this much, or the stock market's up this much, I'm down this much, or I'm not up as much. And year 7 tends to be the tipping point where people are, I need to do something about it. But just for clarity there, to kind of fill back the loop, there's a percentage of people who wouldn't save from switching. That's on a mathematical sense. You can make other arguments to say, well, having access to your money and never having it, penalty. Or there could be tax reasons. Like, if someone was like, would you rather have 90,000 but it's locked away, or 89,000, you can touch it. The 89,000, okay, mathematically looks worse, but there's still nuances in that. But nearly all of those 4% are coming to the end of their plans. So that's where it wouldn't make sense necessarily to switch.
Okay.
Because you wouldn't make back the penalty.
Yeah.
Sure. So at a very fundamental level, like, you might get penalised, say 10% if you took your money out.
Yeah.
But you've only got 2 years left. So it's like, well, are you going to make that 10% back in 2 years? It's when we don't have enough confidence that you will, so we won't recommend that you do.
Yeah.
Have you got a client that's like best win of like, I probably how good you felt to be like, oh, good. Okay.
I'm going to give a bit of a soft answer for biggest win. I would say in general, whether or not it's saved and taking someone out of a plan, or whether or not it's a more generic sort of financial planning, the biggest win is always when you see it in a client's eyes when they got it. And that could be relief. It could be, you can just see something switch where they get it. And when you're doing the process of switching them from a bad investment to a good one, it's frustration, disappointment, but then also like relief and, okay, let's get this sorted. And then other times you can feel and see the stress falling off of people when you're doing the plan. And I always say that the best and the biggest part of the job is seeing that in someone. And also, a lot of the time when we meet people, hate us.
Yeah, because we're
a means to an end. Meeting someone who fundamentally dislikes you or hates you, especially when you're working with people who have been missold and badly treated, and then building a relationship with those people over time, and then being relieved of being an advocate for you. When someone starts out like that, hating you, and goes from hating or disdain for you and everyone in your profession to telling their friends about you and being so thankful for you, and their family's better off as a result, that is the biggest win always.
Yeah, like the underdogs in a movie.
Well, it is, but just to clarify that on the hated bit, I think a lot of the times we're giving the bad news because we're telling the truth. And we might be the first person that they've like been told the full truth in front of. So we take that initial resentment or flack.
But you also must know that like a lot of people have this thing where it's a protective mechanism where they go straight into denial.
Yeah.
So if you tell them the truth, they'll like cut it off, and go into denial. And that's a protective mechanism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Initially when we started, it was like, this is a number, this is how bad it is, and just let them sort of absorb it. And we're like, okay, you're ready to switch. But now it's been like, this is the situation, but there is a solution, and the solution is actually quite easy and proven. And the solution you can do yourself if you want to. Here's all the information you need to do it yourself. But if you want our help, we can also help you to do it if you want it. That switch and sort of working for us was a big thing.
Yeah.
I think if we did it the other way, people think we have an agenda of maybe telling them it's really bad so that they can switch and we can make money. But actually the whole design of the journey and the website is, here's all the information you need. go and verify it. If someone emailed us and said, give me a step-by-step guide of how to do this myself, like, we'll do it. Free.
And is the difference of doing it yourself and using you guys to help, is it time?
Mainly there's time on a very basic level. There's time, but probably more like peace of mind. Let's say you could do it yourself and you did. How confident would you be that that's correct?
Yeah.
Right? You might be like 90% confident, but if you're like, right, these guys are qualified, they're chartered, they've got a good reputation, that peace of mind and comfort is big. And then the secondary bit to that is, let's say the market's down or up, or like in the last 2 years, whether it be like Ukraine, the situation in Israel, there'll always be something. If you have peace of mind, you're less likely to withdraw from your investments. And then that's what actually makes your returns better because you left it alone.
Okay.
So it's an indirect effect of having someone you trust or having an investment you trust that you're with and you can verify that you know is correct.
Yeah.
Or you can get on the phone to someone or Zoom call us. That does improve your returns kind of by proxy.
Not just that, but even the most expert people on the group, some of the better DIY investors who are right 99.9% of the time. Occasionally, they give a piece of advice which is so fundamentally wrong, sort of tax-wise or otherwise, that would really damage someone's situation.
Yeah, and also they don't have any repercussions.
But they don't, yeah, of course.
So I'll go on Facebook.
When it's regarding investments, it's pretty spot on.
Yeah, and it is well intended.
Very well intended, but there's a certain rhetoric and dogma that is okay when you have. I think I've seen someone talking about how to protect against US equities. Yeah. It's like you should do X, Y, and Z. And it was wrong depending on what that person's nationality is.
Yeah.
There's so much more to financial planning than investing alone and what the underlying investments are. Just remember that it's a component. When you're planning your next holiday, you don't just say, I'm going to go via plane and it's an Emirates plane. You've also got to think about where you're going, where the destination is.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not black and
where I'm taking off from, what country am I going
What's
to?
the weather going to be like? What should I pack?
Yeah. There's lots that goes into it. It's not just the case of, because I know what an investment portfolio should look like, there we go, we're done. No, there's much more to it. And there's also a fundamentally right on paper answer and a right for that person answer. So you could tell someone until you're blue in the face that this is right. This is how you invest. You invest based on this evidence and these ETFs and so on and so forth. But that person says, well, I don't like any volatility. I've got an incredibly successful business. If I open up my platform and I see that I'm down 1%, I'm stressed. I don't want that stress. I understand the logic. I understand the evidence. I don't care because it stops me doing from what I'm doing. So this is the other side of it. Just because something's right mathematically, and this is what I struggled with for a long time, just because something's right mathematically or evidence-based doesn't mean it's specifically right for that person in that scenario.
The truth and what is right are not always the same thing.
Yeah. Right for that person versus right on paper.
Yeah.
And I guess it's the same about many things in life, Nothing is black and white. Nothing is black and white. We've just all learned that the hard way. You know?
I think with investing, we have these are the pillars of what we know to be true.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not the whole house. These are just the foundations of, fine, whether you want different windows, doors, carpets, we can talk about that. But these are the pillars and we will build off this. This is what is proven to be true. But it's not just, this house is perfect and you must follow this way.
And when you are helping, let's say these 46 people, most of them probably had a plan that they would need to pay these massive exit penalties if they were going to leave it. Is there a way that you guys have found to negotiate these exit penalties down?
Not in reality. Some people emotionally aren't ready to take a big sort of financial hit, let's say, like might be $40,000. I should rephrase that. It's not really a hit because we would only be switching someone if we could prove they're better off.
Correct. Yeah.
Paying that $40,000 is an opportunity to do something better. People see it as a loss. It's not a loss. Keeping it is a loss. But what is an option in some cases is to say, like, if you're not ready to surrender that yet, that's to stop any future investments from this. And we'll start a platform and we'll put instead of you $500 going to this bad investment, we'll start putting it here and putting it here. Once you have a bit more confidence with this and it is working, and
then you move it over, right?
Us, maybe after a year or two, then you can do it. And sometimes you might have $100,000 in a plan. You might be able to take 30,000 of it penalty free. That's quotes. And then you can put that in a platform and you can kind of do both. It's technically and mathematically not most efficient, but me and Dan have recognised that if it gets someone to start doing it, if the only alternative is they're not going to do anything, it's still better than the status quo. So we should encourage that. And then maybe in a year's time, once a bit more trust has been built up, relationships developed, we can get them to do the full switch. So, but yeah, in industry terms, it's called a max partial.
To answer the question, no.
Yeah.
They would never because
why would they?
Yeah.
They paid out that commission.
Paid out the commission up front, right? They can't. So the advisor, they can't get it back.
So that's why those penalties exist, by the way.
And that's why you can't
it's
allow
not-
it during the first 18
It's not
months.
them
24.
like punishing you. It's because they've already paid that commission out to the advisor. So the day you signed for your 20-year plan, 25-year plan, what was the time period to get paid? 2 weeks, was it? Like once they signed,
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
you get paid. And it'd be like, let's say you signed up for like $1,000 a month. And you did like a 25-year plan. That advisor, salesperson, would get paid $18,000 in 2 weeks.
So
Wow.
it's the advisor first.
Yeah, advisor first.
Yeah.
Then there's a period of where if it's counted in the first 18 months, you have to pay someone that back. But so most advisors' job is like, make sure you keep that plan for 18 months. And then doing the clear, okay? And then after those 18 months, and the penalty is driven from the consumer or the user. It's much worse than that. How it's structured.
We're bringing it back to the next. But this is why also people have this problem. The people who do want advice or do need advice, you might recognise that this problem that if they have one advisor, they got sold something, and then that advisor moves on to the next person, and they're just left. They get a new person, and that person tries to sell them something, and they all
you need to switch this fund. You need to do
So
this.
they're like a sitting duck, you
They
know?
just sit and duck, and they're just being passed around, having to retell their story and try and build a relationship again, only to be tried to have something else sold to them. Because once the people have got their money, they don't care about them.
Yeah.
You know,
See, when I meet a financial advisor, right, it's someone that is a good financial advisor that's there to help me and not there to take all my money, I am fine with them making money. This is their job,
absolutely.
right? But it needs to go hand in hand. You both need to win.
But you
Yes.
also need,
It shouldn't be one side.
if it mains for me, it's a transparency, right?
How much
Other
you
thing. Because you can make, it's not how much you're making, like how and when are you getting paid or interest aligned. So what me and Dan do is fee-based, okay? We're not tied to the outcome. It's none of this, if you make money, we make money, sort of like rhetoric that goes around. It's, we can do a set amount of work for you, like a lawyer would or an accountant would. We'll scope out the work. It's going to do X, Y, and Z. This is going to be the expected outcome. It's X amount complex. It's going to take us X amount of hours. Here's the fee. By paying us that fee up front and transparently, you know that we're not conflicted to give you product advice, okay? Because we're not going to get paid from the provider. We're not going to get paid from the broker, like from the platform. Like we don't have any conflict. You've paid us directly. So we'll just tell you the truth. And we know for some people that is a barrier, but as financial planners, we want people that A, would benefit from the advice, but B, value the work we do. If we give the same advice for free for someone, it's probably not as respected as it would be. It's like, this is a fee, this is engaged. We have a barrier, so we're working with less clients, but every client we work with is engaged. They get it. They get the benefit of what we're doing. And also they get the peace of mind of knowing we will never, ever try and sell them a product, a fund or any crap because they've already paid us.
Oh.
So
It's exactly like paying for a good lawyer. It's like a very good comparison because you want to make sure that you're getting a good service.
Yeah.
So you go with a good lawyer, you pay them a fee, you know it's deserved because they got your back, they're going to be representing you, and done. It's done.
They don't have a conflict of interest of trying to do it. Whereas all the other quasi-advisors or product salespeople, they're getting paid a kickback, everything else. If I was going to make a kind of checklist of if you're interviewing a financial planner or advisor, whatever you want to call it, it's like, how do you get paid? Have it on paper. Like, for sure, you can infer a lot of details from that.
Yeah.
And you will know whether you're interested.
Yeah,
aligned or not. Because even this thing of like, you make money, we make money. Well, you're taking all the risk, aren't you? Like you're investing, say, $50,000. If it goes up, I'll take a bit more. But you're taking all the risk. What does he have to lose? Nothing. He's like, it's an awful deal.
I'll make money too, but it's on you.
Yeah, it's on you. And how much? So his only interest is actually to put more money in, even if it's the right thing or not. Whereas for us, if you pay us a flat fee, whether you invest 100,000 or 500,000, you get paid the same either way. We have a flat fee.
Yeah,
it's the same for everyone.
That's what we do with our mortgage advisor. He's an advisor. You know, he goes to all the banks. He asks for all of the details, and he takes us through the best one. Because at the end of the day, I'm paying him the same fee whether he goes with ADCB, whether he goes for
exactly.
With
That's how you know you're getting the best. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
And
Because then he's not going to put you with one bank just because he's going to get a high commission. He's like, well, I'm already getting paid, so this is sweet.
I'd also say, you're dealing with a professional when they ask you lots of questions which isn't related to the solution. It's about you. If you go to a GP or a doctor, they'll ask you loads of questions to try and diagnose what the problem is, what the issue is you're suffering from, maybe send you for additional investigations. If you turn up and you said, I've got this pain, I've got a sore throat, and they said, well,
here's this medication.
Done, out the door. They have to investigate the problem further. And financial advice is the same. Someone comes to you, no one wants to see a financial advisor talk about their life, talk about their money. There's a problem going on. There's something going on behind the scenes. Maybe it's the stressed maybe because they've heard bad things about their plan, or
Yeah.
maybe they're worried about, are they always going to have enough money? A professional will diagnose the problem before handing you a solution.
Correct.
Outside of Saved, because Saved is a bit more transactional than a normal financial planning process because it's people with a plan. But in our first meetings with clients, in that first, we call it discovery meeting, we don't ask them any financial questions. Don't care how much net worth they've got. Don't care how much they're looking to invest. Don't care what their mortgage is because it's irrelevant. It's all very motivational based, needs based. Who is this person? What their goals are? Could we work together?
Yeah,
From that, if we've got that agreed, we can move on to a second stage of like the mathematical stuff. But most people's journey here is you sit with a financial advisor, go through a fact find, how much you're looking to invest, how much is your mortgage, have you got a will? It's all very like,
we get the
how many,
paper out, draw out, and laugh.
how many opportunities have I got to sell you another product? And it's like, you don't understand anything about this person. How could you possibly know that you could help or not?
It's how things are done versus how things should be done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're, like we said before, we're not the best marketers or advertisers. The ingredients we have, we could do a lot more, but we're more purists of like, this is what good financial planning is. Whether we are financially better off or worse off for it, fine. But we're sort of very purist. Like, this is what it is. This is the philosophy. This is what we know works. And hopefully we'll get good clients. But if we don't, the facts still haven't changed.
Because you also don't want to join that mentality of we're here to convince you.
Yeah, no. We're not.
Because then you're just basically playing the same game. Not the
Exactly.
same game, but you're
Exactly.
playing that, like taking a person, convincing them
Yeah.
this way or that way.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't actually have a problem saying, if someone said, oh, all financial advisors out here are terrible, right? I probably wouldn't correct them because they're 99% right. And I'd be like, that's a good enough stereotype to be like, close enough, fine. Yeah.
And what about your financial philosophy? So let's say we've saved someone from their plan. They are so happy because they're away from this plan that was maybe losing their money on a monthly basis or just breaking even. How would you take on the next step? What's the next meeting? Like, how do you now advise them in a different strategy?
Everyone takes out their plan for a reason. So you have to start with what it was that they were hoping to achieve originally.
Because that probably hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed, no.
Yeah.
So you need to get to know them, their life, what they're looking to achieve. And usually the regular savings plan they had was a component of that. So once you take care of that element, if that's the only element, then, we structure a plan around that. And maybe there's other bits and pieces. But broadly, we have the same investment philosophy, evidence-based ETFs, so on. Because predominantly we're working with people who are looking at, retirement planning or long-term saving, and we're not in the market speculating with other people's money. We have to follow the evidence. If I wanted to speculate with my own money, if I decided to do it, I see it as somewhat immoral to speculate with someone else's money unless they knew that's what we would do.
Yeah.
We follow an evidence-based approach with the investments, but with regards to the overall plan, it's just about what it is that they want to achieve.
And then working backwards.
And working backwards,
And then being
to
like,
how they do
maybe
that.
what's the least risk I can take and still achieve the same goal? And let's kind of go off that. And most people, the expat life in Dubai is slightly different, but for most people, they don't actually want to be like millionaires. Like, I want to be comfortable in retirement, I want to look after my family. That's it.
Don't you have to be a millionaire for that?
No, yeah, but you
If
wouldn't.
you want to stay here in
But
the
yeah,
UAE.
you wouldn't necessarily identify as a millionaire. So, like, you might have friends back in South Africa, I've got friends back in the UK that normal upbringing went to the same school. Their parents might have bought a house now for, let's say it's like £300,000 now. So the average house price in the UK is just under that, right? With inflation and just the property market in general, let's say in 30 years, that's worth $1 million. Obviously, it's inflated because that's inflation built up over 30, 40 years. Let's say those parents pass away and they inherit it to their kids. That kid won't be like, I'm a millionaire. Because he's not lived a millionaire lifestyle. He just happens to own £1 million property.
Yeah.
And it's the same with someone who's like, let's say you get to 60 years old and you have £1 million in your pot. Let's say you live for 25 years. It's only like $40,000 a year before it runs out. That's a very, very basic one if you didn't invest it still. But someone on $40,000 a year wouldn't be like, I'm a millionaire. They wouldn't live like a millionaire. So it's a...
I think this is why we all sometimes get tempted to speculative investments, because if you run the numbers and you look at what your current income can get you in life, you might look at that and say, what an ETF and an evidence-based approach, that's what, let's say if I was 100% equities, that's 10% a year. After inflation, it's 7% a year. That's not enough for me.
Yeah.
That's not enough for what I want for myself. So we try and look for, magic pills, things that will get us what we want.
I think also it's a mindset thing of the type of people that would move here in the first place and be expats
Are
are
also
more
ambitious.
likely to be ambitious or chasing. Right, so that's
And
the
there's
type of people is
I think we discussed before the podcast started. I mean, there's nothing wrong with speculating, but I think people should speculate on themselves. So, for example, let's say that someone needs to save 1,000 or 2,000 a month for, let's say, 1,000 a month for retirement, and they've got extra money one month. Let's say they've got 2,000 that month, so they've got an extra 1,000. What I'm saying is, you can either put that towards your retirement or retire slightly earlier, or you could speculate on yourself rather than looking at speculative investments. How do you upskill yourself? How do you earn more? Yeah. Maybe there's a qualification you could take at work. Maybe there's a side project. Maybe you can find another way to invest in yourself. I think the take-home point for people listening is, if saving more of that money into your long-term plans, your retirement, and is not motivating to you, you should find a way other than speculating in probably some quite dodgy products or speculative products. You can find another way to invest in yourself, which will motivate you, which will be more rewarding, that you can get a better return on investment from. Do the basics, make sure you're okay there with an evidence-based approach. And if you want to speculate, consider speculating in yourself before you look at speculative investments.
That's very wise. And that's something definitely for the listeners to take home. So what gets you guys excited personally in your job?
As much as I can, I don't think this is driven from an ego approach, but the success we've saved and other stuff has been very much, we've helped people where there wasn't anywhere else to turn, or we've facilitated or added value, as much as that's a very generic term. But what it means to me is that I've helped someone who otherwise wouldn't have been helped, or otherwise wouldn't have been able to achieve what they've achieved. That for me is my motivation every time. And that was also my anti-motivation when I was working for banks. It's very transactional, and you're just another seat. And if I wasn't there, someone else would have been there to do it. So for this stuff now with Saved and general financial planning, is a lot of my energy in sort of food is I've done that, and I know that no one else could have done it in that way, or done it as good, or had the same outcome.
Yeah, for me,
spreadsheets,
yeah. Excel. Yeah. No, for me, to answer the question, what I enjoy the most is things that are either complex or intellectually stimulating. I mean, I love working with all my clients, but when it comes to, to use a specific example, UK IHT planning combined with someone who's retirement planning, those two goals can sometimes be conflicting. For example, someone looking to minimize their inheritance tax estate might be taking away money from the pot that they would otherwise need for retirement. It's very complex. They absolutely need advice for it. They can't do it themselves. And it's a puzzle, putting it all together. And I enjoy working on that puzzle with clients. You get great results and the clients are always happy. But bringing it back to what I said earlier on, any client where you see that moment of realization or relief, that's the most rewarding part of the job.
Fantastic. I completely understand what you are saying, Dan, in that sense. It's great to be able to do something that not many people can do in your industry, because when it comes to doing exactly the same as other people are doing, it gets a bit boring, I think. Speaking about those dodgy people that are always doing the same thing, let's each give one red flag. When we are talking about financial advisors, when you're talking about someone that is out to steal your money, what is your number one red flag that you would help the listeners today with trying to establish?
There's so many, but the easiest one, it's quite easy to spot, is when you're sat with advisor or even on some website that it's all very product driven. It's about the product, the investment. They can have all the best words of saying like, oh, it's been back tested for this, it's guaranteed for this, and worked with these big companies. But if it's all about the product, that's for me a red flag. If I sat with someone, that first initial conversation, at least 2-3 times, it's like, tell me about you, tell me about your kids, tell me about your journey. Like, that's that green flag. So the opposite of that is it's all product driven. Oh, you need to invest in this fund because there's some new IPOs that are coming in China and India. It's very product driven. That could technically be true, but it's not something I would want to engage with.
Yeah, that's great to know.
So very much similar, very product driven, lack of interest in you, the person. Also, you need to look at any documents, go through fine-tooth comb, find out how you're being charged. I think a big red flag is not knowing what you're paying. If someone says, oh, we get a kickback from the provider, X, Y, and Z, or they say the fees are this, really understand what it is that you're paying. And the big difficulty with understanding what you're paying is lots of the charging structures of international products are quite convoluted and complex. You can pay a 10% fee for your advice split over 10 years. You don't realize you could be signing up for 4.5% in fees every year for the next 25 years and not know. I would say really take your time to go through all of the documents, look at the fees. And if your advisor hasn't told you how much you're paying, that's a big red flag.
Just lastly on that is that, let's say you get an average fund and it's like 6% a year, let's say. And for all the fees, the advisor's taking 2%. You think, okay, 2% is fine, it's such a small amount, but it's 2% of that 6%, in that it's essentially 30% of your returns, or 33% of your returns is going to the advisor. And if that was ever presented to you in that way, you'd be like, no, that's a horrible deal. I'm taking all the risk and I'm only getting 66% of the returns. So yeah, it's the transparency of fees. We understand, obviously, you have to get paid for the work, but we're not against that at all. And people get different value from different fees, but it's the transparency of doing it.
I think another red flag, or really spotting a green flag, is a professional will try and push you away from working with them. Will ask questions to work out why they're meeting us. What have you tried already?
Why don't you just do this yourself?
Why haven't you done this yourself? Why haven't you started yet? What have you tried so far? We're not trying to force someone into something. We're trying to find out why they're even there. A professional will look for the other avenues you can explore to find out that themselves are the right choice. As people that value our reputation, we don't want to take on a client who's not a good fit. We will look for the reasons why someone is there or shouldn't work with us.
And we don't want to convince people.
We were not there to convince people. We ask questions and people realise whether they should work with us or should do it themselves.
Yeah.
So it's always a process of asking people questions of themselves and then deciding for themselves.
So basically, it's not the product that's driving them to make the decision.
Correct.
It's their own personal journey that's driving them to make the decision.
Exactly.
Coming from themselves.
And it's not a quick fix like putting on waiters, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about that because we have this current problem. We've both gained significant amounts of weight since having a baby. And what's a red flag for you?
For me, a red flag is definitely the same points that Dan and Josh have just spoken about, but also something from the presentation. When someone arrives in a Ferrari or they're wearing a luxury suit and you can see it and you can smell the cologne that they are wearing, it's probably someone that has taken a lot of money from other people.
But I have a question for you.
Yes.
What's the opposite side of that? So if I turned up, so we met and I was your financial advisor, and I turned up in a very beat up suit where I was just wearing like jeans and a top, and my car was like 20 years old.
I would probably also run.
Yeah, so there's a sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have to be like...
Yeah, well, I guess one of my clients...
I think if someone shows up and they are nicely dressed and they're in a nice car and they don't speak about money like it's their only gain, But a lot of the time you have these financial advisors that would show up in these fancy cars, fancy
nice
suits,
watches.
and
It might seem like the norm in Dubai. So it might not seem like it stands out or anything, but it just does also speak to where that person's values are at.
I think a lot of it is, I don't know how intentional this is, but the type of person that would do business with that person has to be like a little bit ignorant. And that's what probably they're preying on, is their ignorance, because they're not appealing to people like yourself when you're more skeptical, when you're a bit more like analytical. Whereas the initial impression might be, oh, that person's doing well, they've got a nice watch, nice car. They actually want business from that person. Correct. That client is not going to question them in 1 year when the fund is down, or 2 years when different investment product comes up. So like I say, I don't know how intentional it is, but it's part of the strategy. It's part of the image.
I don't know how reliable the dress sense is because people take that into consideration, even that's come back. But yeah, turning up in a Ferrari, and it's such a good point, because if you spend any time scrolling on social media, you see these guys and they say, take advice from someone who's where you want to be. And in our world, in financial planning, I've met some advisors that make $500,000, $1 million a year, right? This is big money. And I'm talking dollars or pounds. I'm not talking dirhams. And they make that money by ripping people off. Yeah. So you could say, well, I take my advice from someone who's somewhere I want to be, but you've got to remember how they got there as well.
Yeah. Sure. At
what cost? Anyone could be wealthy by sacrificing their morality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we see that all the time now, anywhere in society. We're seeing that more and more. People are becoming more and more obsessed with meaningless wealth rather than their own, and sacrificing their own morality as a result.
To look rich.
And when you're talking about, the Ferrari, another sign is some of the most ethical and best financial firms here, maybe they have no more than 20, I'd say, advisors. The ones which are the biggest, the very, very biggest, and the same in the UK where we're from, the biggest firm is the one which is ripping people over the most, not the one that's the best. So how does it get so big? Well, it just comes down to marketing. If I charge more and hide it, how much I'm charging, I'll sell more. that money goes into marketing. I get more and more
Rinse
clients,
and repeat.
Correct.
and it's a snowball effect.
In a pure financial planning process, if you were to design it like this is the best process, you couldn't have 1 million clients. Because you were like, right, we can only deal with clients with worth X amount. We want to be meeting with our clients every month, at least, so we're touching base with them. If that's the perfect model, that's why the best companies are those probably mid-sized ones, not the actual massive.
Quality, not quantity.
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe that's how it started, and then somebody
Yeah,
came in and wanted to maximize on it, you know.
That's always the way.
CEO with a different vision and
Yeah, different vision, more money.
absolutely. And then we also need to understand some financial advisors are using the fact that they are driving a Ferrari as something that, like you said, if you would like to drive a Ferrari, like if you would like to, wear nice suits like me,
Like a marketing tactic.
invest in what I'm investing in.
Yeah.
Bottom line, the person is probably not going to sell something that they are investing in, because then they're going to be paying crazy fees. And on another note, the Ferrari is probably rented. You need to understand that. In Dubai, you see it all over. You
Yeah.
see fake wealth. And that is something that people need to understand.
Yeah.
That maybe that car is mortgaged, and maybe that person is spending their life savings on that car, and we don't even know about it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll end by saying that I don't have any red flags because I've never hired a financial advisor. But also don't be me. That's also not the way. So I'm not proud to say it. So we have been saying that financial advisors usually like scam you, take your money, whatever. But at the same time, you do need to get involved. You do need to take a step and do something.
Yeah,
right?
I think Andrew Hallam said in his book, the skills you need to spot whether a financial advisor is good or not are essentially the same skills you need to invest yourself. So if you've gone to that sort of trouble or journey educationally, gathering the information to spot a financial advisor is genuine, he's like, well, you might as well just do it yourself, because the results aren't going to be, they're going to be different, but they're not going to be like night and day.
Yeah.
There's definitely efficiency and there's definitely lifestyle value and like quality of life working with an advisor, but purely from a returns point of view, it's not the difference between having like 2% or 8%.
Absolutely. And on that note, guys, thank you so much, Josh and Dan. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if you guys would like to get in touch with Dan or Josh, if you have one of these disgusting funds, get in touch with us. Let us put you in touch with these two fine gentlemen to sort you out, to get rid of the funds and hopefully set you up for success instead of failure. So thank you so much, guys. We appreciate your time. Can you tell us your social media accounts so they can actually have a look at what you guys are doing?
Worse at social media.
Website, maybe. We'll link it all down below, but
Website's the best. We would want everyone to go on that journey.
Yeah, I would say anyone who's got a regular savings plan and they're unsure of what to do, head over to Saved.ae, fill out the calculator on the right hand side and submit that. We'll ask you for your mobile and your email there. You'll get the calculation and we'll reach out to you.
Yeah. And there's also on the site itself, you can just book a call direct. It goes to our calendars. And that's a free initial consultation call.
fantastic. So head over there if you guys are interested, and make sure that you mention you're coming from UAE Grow Your Finances or UAE GYF, and they will definitely take extra care of you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. Bye. What an episode that was. If you guys want to be put in touch with Saved, both Dan and Josh, please let us know. We'll put you directly in touch with them and they can definitely help you save those dirham. And don't you forget, pay yourself first, because you are worth it.
Money